Personally, I'm not a fan of jump scares, not because I'm frightened of them, but simply because I find them, broadly speaking, to be overused and dull. It's the same reason I'm not interested in gory horror movies. I find them cheap. Instead, I far more enjoy the psychological horror, and this is why 2014's Alien Isolation worked so well for me. It's likely then very good news that many of the developers that worked on that title are working on the upcoming game called Observation. Now, by all accounts, Observation is a very different title from Isolation. For starters, there are no H.R. Geiger-styled aliens in it. For second, this isn't played from the perspective of a traditional first-person or even third-person perspective. Instead, the player plays as the AI of an ISS-themed space station. Personally, I think this is a compelling idea. Unfortunately though, there's still relatively little information out there on the title. IGN produced a video feature on this some months back, and more recently, many of the gaming press websites have been given access to a demo of the title. A trailer has also been released. Now together, it's clear to see that this appears to be a labour of love, and there's some quality visuals going on here. As a space station's AI, you find yourself in the precarious position of having to take care of the station's crew, in this case an astronaut called Emma Fisher. The space station itself is in a bad state, as it has suffered from some form of failure or catastrophe. This means then that Emma is extremely dependent upon the station's AI, in this case, you. Now what I really like about this idea is that you, being a player, are obviously not in reality an AI, but a human being. This naturally influences your decisions and actions within the game, as your very presence turns the AI into a self-aware artificial intelligence. And this doesn't go unnoticed by the human crew member, as there's suddenly something innately different about the AI she has been using for who knows how long. This is one of the areas where the psychological aspect of the game could potentially take on a very interesting twist, and it's an area that, unfortunately, games do not explore anywhere near enough. Consciousness, self-awareness, intelligence, the nature of how we perceive things is a compelling subject, and games are uniquely positioned among nearly all forms of media to best explore this, simply because games can put you in the shoes of another person, or, in the case of Observation, another being. Now, other games have tried this. In 2017's Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, they went to great lengths to explore the concept of being in someone else's shoes. For me, that along with the exceptional implementation put Hellblade right at the top of my favourite games of all time. Everyone has a different perspective in life, and at times it can be very difficult to see things from another point of view. Hellblade then took this to a whole new level by getting the player to play as a person suffering from psychosis. Now, if you have ever known anyone that has ever suffered from any form of psychosis, you'll also know that it's an extremely difficult situation to deal with, and a very difficult subject. Ninja Theory, the developers behind Hellblade, didn't shy away from the subject, however, and instead enlisted both experts within the field, as well as individuals recovering from various forms of mental illness. This was used in a positive way to create an extremely deep gaming experience, one that openly and reasonably questions our perspectives on accepted reality. For me, this is often why stories, whether they are books, movies or games that have an element of psychological tension, work so well. They require forethought and effort on behalf of the creator. Now, I'm not saying that Observation is going to be an in-depth psychological analysis. After all, we don't know yet. There's still too little information out there. What I am saying though is that this has huge potential to be a game that offers players a very unique perspective on things. An AI that has just become self-aware, and that AI is you. Now, there's obviously a bunch of gameplay going on behind all of this. Firstly, as the station's AI, you have direct control of all the station's systems. Secondly, most of the emotional reactions within the game will likely come from the NPC character, and that, I guess, is typical of most games. The question might be, how much do you care about that? Well, if the game is good enough, and if the developers have done a decent enough job, it will likely make you care. And that's really where a lot of the gameplay is going to hinge. How much do you care about the crew, either helping them or doing whatever other activities you may or may not be able to help them with, or potentially what sort of problems could you cause. So sure, for now, I'm not really looking at observation in terms of gameplay mechanics, but rather discussing what it might offer in terms of an experience, much in the same way as Alien Isolation and Hellblade each offered very unique and very compelling experiences. It's something I'm personally looking forward to trying out, and the release is actually pretty close now. On the 21st of May, it will be available on both PS4 as well as PC. In terms of the PC release though, some people may feel it's a little unfortunate that it is being released on the Epic Store and not on Steam. I would of course be taking further looks at this game as more information becomes available. In the meantime, take a look at the links in the video description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.